We like to believe that we are the sole authors of our thoughts. We believe that, when we look at the world, we are seeing it clearly, through our own eyes, filtered by our own unique experiences and values. But what if I told you that in certain relationships, your perception can be quietly, slowly, and methodically hijacked? What if the voice in your head, the one interpreting events and judging people, is not actually yours anymore? Today, we are going to explore a phenomenon that is as fascinating as it is frightening. The echo chamber effect created by a specific type of personality, known as the dark empath. This is not the kind of echo chamber you find on social media, where algorithms feed you more of what you already like. This is an interpersonal echo chamber, a psychological construct built by one person to entrap another. It is a distorted reality, where the only truth that exists is the one they have designed for you. If you have ever felt like you are losing your grip on what is real, or if you find yourself defending behavior that you know, deep down, is indefensible, this conversation is for you. We are going to shine a light on how this happens, how to spot the walls closing in, and how to find the door to walk back out into the sunlight of your own authentic mind. To understand the echo chamber, we first have to understand the architect. The dark empath. We often think of manipulative people as cold, unfeeling, or obviously cruel. We think of the narcissist, who demands attention, or the sociopath who breaks the rules. But the dark empath is different. They are dangerous precisely because they understand feelings so well. They possess a high level of cognitive empathy. They know exactly how you feel. They can read your microexpressions. They understand your insecurities, your dreams, and your emotional triggers better than almost anyone else. However, unlike a compassionate person who uses that understanding to connect and heal, the dark empath uses it to maneuver and control. They use their insight to build a custom-made reality for you. They validate you in ways that feel intoxicating at first. They make you feel like they are the only person in the world who truly gets you. This is the foundation of the echo chamber. They create a space that feels safe, warm, and exclusive. They lure you in with the promise of profound understanding, but once you are inside, they start to close the windows. The construction of this echo chamber begins with the subtle reshaping of your external world. It rarely starts with a demand like, "Stop seeing your friends." Instead, it starts with a whisper. It starts with a reinterpretation of your interactions with others. Let us say you go out to lunch with your best friend, and you come home happy. The dark empath might say, "I am glad you had fun, even though I think she makes subtle digs at you that you do not notice. I just hate seeing people take advantage of your kindness." Pause for a moment and feel the weight of that statement. On the surface, it sounds protective. It sounds like they are on your side. But what have they actually done? They have planted a seed of doubt. They have tainted your positive memory of the lunch. They have positioned themselves as the one who sees the truth, while you are too naive to spot it. If this happens once, you might brush it off. But imagine this happening every week, for months or years. Slowly, you start to view your best friend through the dark empath's lens. You start looking for the digs. You start interpreting innocent comments as attacks. Eventually, you pull away from the friend, not because the dark empath told you to, but because you now believe the friend is toxic. This is the brilliance of the echo chamber. The manipulator does not have to force you to isolate yourself. They simply rewrite the narrative so that isolation feels like your own choice. They paint the world outside the relationship as dangerous, judgmental, or unintelligent. And they paint the relationship itself as the only sanctuary of truth and loyalty. As the external voices in your life get quieter, the voice of the dark empath gets louder. But here is the tricky part. It does not sound like their voice. It starts to sound like your voice. This is the process of internalization. Because they have established themselves as the ultimate authority on your life, remember, they know you better than you know yourself. You begin to adopt their vocabulary. their opinions, and their prejudices. You might find yourself repeating phrases that you never used to say. You might find yourself judging people for things that never used to bother you. For example, perhaps you were always a very open-minded, free-spirited person who loved all kinds of art. The dark empath, however, is critical and elitist. Over time, you stop enjoying the things you used to love. You look at a piece of art and think, that is just derivative and pretensions. Is that you thinking? Or is that the echo of the dark empath bouncing around in your mind? This assimilation is terrifying because it erodes your core identity. You become a vessel for their worldview. You become an extension of their ego. And because they are often charismatic and intelligent, their arguments sound logical. They are masters of rationalization. They can explain away their bad behavior with such complex, intellectual gymnastics that you end up apologizing to them for getting hurt. Inside the echo chamber, up is down, and right is wrong, provided they can construct a good enough argument for it. One of the most powerful tools they use to seal the chamber is the us against the world narrative. This is the glue that holds the distortion together. They will convince you that the two of you are special, elevated, or uniquely enlightened, and that everyone else is just ordinary. They might say things like, people like us operate on a different frequency, or nobody else understands the depth of our connection. They are just jealous. This creates a sense of superiority that is incredibly addictive. It makes you feel chosen, but it also makes you paranoid. If you believe that the world is full of people who are jealous of you or who want to tear you down, you will cling even tighter to the dark empath. You will stop trusting your family. You will stop trusting your colleagues. You will stop trusting society. You will only trust the person who is feeding you the poison. In this state, you lose your ability to reality check. We all need sounding boards. We need friends who can look at us and say, hey, that sounds a little crazy. Or, are you sure that is okay? These outside perspectives are the windows in our house. They let fresh air in. They let us see the horizon. The dark empath boards up these windows. They discredit anyone who challenges their narrative. If your mother expresses concern about how much you have changed, the dark empath will say, of course she is worried. She wants to control you. She cannot handle your growth. They immunize you against the truth by framing the truth as an attack. So, how do you know if you're living in an echo chamber? How do you recognize the signs when your own mind has been compromised? The first sign is a feeling of constant confusion or cognitive dissonance. You feel a gap between what you are being told and what you feel in your gut. Your body often rejects the echo chamber before your mind does. You might feel anxious, heavy, or physically exhausted whenever you try to advocate for your own perspective. You might feel a sense of dread when you have to tell the dark empath about a decision you made on your own, because you know they will find a way to tear it down. Another sign is the scripting phenomenon. When you are explaining your relationship to others, do you sound like yourself? Or do you sound like a press release? Do you find yourself using specific, rehearsed talking points to defend their behavior? He is just very particular about his space. Or she has a lot of trauma, so she reacts intensely. If you feel like you are constantly managing the PR for your partner, spinning their cruelty into something acceptable, you are likely in the echo chamber. You might also notice a shrinking of your world. Think back to who you were 3 years ago. Did you have more hobbies? Did you laugh more? Did you have more variety in your thoughts and conversations? The echo chamber is a small room. There is no space for growth, only for reflection of the manipulator. If your life feels smaller, quieter, and more fearful than it used to be, that is a massive red flag. Breaking out of this psychological prison is not easy, but it is entirely possible. It begins with a single, rebellious question. What if they are wrong? This question is the hammer that cracks the glass. What if your best friend is not actually toxic? What if your family is not actually trying to control you? What if the way you see the world is actually valid? You have to give yourself permission to entertain the possibility that the narrator of your life is unreliable. To do this, you need to reconnect with external reality. This can be terrifying at first because you have been conditioned to believe the outside world is unsafe. Start small. Reconnect with an old friend. You do not even have to talk about the relationship. Just talk about movies, or gardening, or memories. Remind yourself of who you were before the echo chamber was built. Remind yourself of the sound of your own laugh when it is not being monitored. You also need to reclaim your privacy. The dark empath demands total access to your thoughts. They want to know everything so they can control everything. Start keeping a small part of your mind to yourself. Maybe it is a journal that you hide. Maybe it is a hobby they do not know about. Maybe it is just a silent opinion that you do not voice. Nurturing a secret garden in your mind, where their voice is not allowed to enter, is an act of revolution. It proves to you that you still exist separate from them. Listen to other voices. Read books by people with different perspectives. Listen to podcasts that challenge the worldview you have been fed. The dark empath relies on your information diet being restricted. Flood your system with new ideas. The more variety you introduce, the harder it is for their single, distorted narrative to survive. And finally, you must learn to trust your intuition again. That quiet, nagging voice that said, "Something is wrong in the beginning." It is still there. It has been buried under layers of manipulation and gaslighting, but it is not dead. It is waiting for you to listen. When you feel a pang of unease, do not shove it down. Sit with it, ask it what it knows. Your intuition is the compass that will lead you out of the maze. Leaving an echo chamber is like walking out of a dark movie theater into the bright afternoon sun. It hurts your eyes at first. The world feels too loud, too chaotic, too bright. You might feel exposed. You might feel foolish for having been in the dark for so long. But please be gentle with yourself. You were not weak. You were manipulated by someone who weaponized your own empathy against you. The process of deprogramming takes time. You have to untangle their thoughts from yours, strand by strand. You have to relearn how to make decisions without seeking their approval. You have to relearn how to trust your own judgment. It is a process of rebuilding your identity from the ground up. But this time, you are the architect. This time, you get to decide where the windows go. You get to decide who is allowed in. And most importantly, you get to ensure that the voice echoing off the walls is your own. I want you to take a moment right now and say to yourself, "My mind belongs to me." Say it again. My mind belongs to me. It is your most precious territory. Defend it, cherish it. Do not let anyone, no matter how charming or persuasive, set up camp there and tell you how to see the stars. You have the power to break the glass. You have the power to walk away from the narrative that is shrinking you. The world is waiting for you, the real world, with all its messiness, beauty, and truth. It is waiting for the real you to come back and join it. Thank you so much for being here with me today, and for being brave enough to look at these difficult topics. Remember, awareness is the first step to freedom. You are doing the work, and I am so proud of you. Until next time, keep listening to your own heart and keep your aura bright. Sending you all my love.